Funsize Show!
Welcome back to The Fold. I'm Tony Sanchez. I'm here joined with Anthony Armendariz, my good buddy.
What's up?
And the set looks a little bit different today. Why? We don't have a guest. And that's intentional because right now it's about maybe like 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah, crunch time.
Close to the end of the year. And we're ready to wrap this year up. I'm ready to wrap this year up. So what we're going to do this time is a little bit different and not our traditional format, but I had been perusing the old catalog of episodes of The Hustle from back in the day whenever you and Rick Messer had The Hustle, the show, which was really the start of this whole thing. And when I was looking through those episodes, I found one that I thought was really interesting and kind of had some strong ties to kind of where we are in the modern day. So I thought it would be cool if maybe we talk about that and then we let you all listen to that episode because maybe you will find some common ground with some of the thoughts and some of the takeaways that I found. And if you do, let us know. Hit us up in the comments or shoot us an email or however you want to get a hold of us to let us know if you feel like some things that we're going to talk about and are mentioned in this episode with Adam Saint resonate or they're off. Be really cool. Wait, are you cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So
jumping into something 10 years old.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. Good segue. So the episode is with Adam Saint, and it was from what I recall in my notes, episode 14, which was recorded in January 14th of 2015. So almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Which that was kind of honestly my kind of my period of time where I entered the industry. So it was as I was listening to this episode, it was really kind of interesting to me to transport my mental space back to that time period of kind of what as I was ramping up and learning about kind of the industry and the roles of being a designer, and comparing that to what I'm thinking now was really interesting. So in this episode, y'all sat down and talked about at that point in time the rethinking or the position of what a product designer meant at that time. And at the time, Adam was working at a company called Bench.co. And I don't know Adam, but I grasped that he was a strong design leader within that organization. And he had a pretty strong perspective about, the role of a designer within their organization or his world. And then at large too in the industry, one that's kind of maybe pushing the boundaries of what designers do and should be responsible for. Do you remember this episode at all?
I mean, I remember Bench. I remember Adam. I remember making an episode with him, but I don't remember what we talked about, which is common.
Yeah.
Because I often don't listen back to them. I don't like to hear my own voice, and it was also 10 years ago.
Yeah. What is, if you could recall, what did Bench do? Well, I know they were in the financial space.
Yeah, I mean, so 10 years ago, we were still early on in the company, and we were trying to do finances better, and we were looking for options, right? Mm. Do we use QuickBooks? Do we need a financial advisor? Who's going to do the bookkeeping? Who's going to do the taxes and all that? And we found Bench. I think they were based in Canada. And they had a combo of that software that small businesses could use to do their financial work, but paired with a human being that could help you work through the challenges. So the best of both worlds of using SaaS and having a consultant, but in price points that small businesses could afford. And I remember reaching out to Bench because I was like, wow, we use your product and service and we like it. We noticed some areas of the product that you use some work. We're a design agency. What do you think about working together? So we did a small project together, and that's where we met Adam.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that. Yeah. With my research on this episode, I looked up and saw he's from Vancouver, lives in Vancouver. And I also think Feel free to fact check me. That he works at Mercury, which I think that you're familiar with.
Yeah,
Mercury right
Bank.
now?
Yeah,
And you might know somebody there.
yeah. Juliana, who we had on an episode a while back, she's head of design there.
Right.
Or at least she was. I don't know if she's still there. I think she's still there.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I found it to be really interesting because the current state of where the real meat happens within the product world happens with the designers and the people that exist within that role. And like I said, this is not our traditional format because we're a little bit like on the designer level at this point. But I think it's important because we touched on certain, and we'll get to this. We touched on certain connecting points to with Zach McNair, I believe, and also with Brian Peterson about the evolving role of a designer. And so that's why I'm saying it's really interesting because like of what this what y'all talked about in this episode. When y'all kicked off, there was a discussion about the traditional product designer job description is a bit broad, meaning that there's at the time there's a lot of like responsibilities that can overwhelm a designer. Maybe being responsible for strategy, being responsible for roadmap, being responsible for certain things. If you had to transport yourself back in time 10 years ago to the world of digital product design in 2010, like, do you feel like that was pretty accurate?
I feel generally that was pretty accurate because around the time that we started Funsize 14 years ago, companies were just starting to bring product design in as a role in their organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And every company was different, but there were still a lot of companies that saw product design or saw design as art, not business. Some companies in the Bay Area might have led the charge to be like, no, this is an important area, business function. It's not art. It's not decoration. It's business. It's customer satisfaction. This equates to revenue. People were starting to bring a product design in as a function instead of working with agencies. But you can imagine that those investments, most companies were small. Like, okay, we're going to hire one product designer,
mm-hmm.
maybe two. So I think that generally speaking, like there was a lot of stacked responsibility on, having a really small, design discipline. Also that was new, people were trying to figure out. And also at that time, software design, software UX design, mobile UX design weren't as ubiquitous. Mm. So not as many people industry-wide knew how to do it. Designers were still transitioning from the web into software design. So there was a lot of, it was still early on, I think. I mean, it sounds crazy, but yeah, like so much has changed in the last 10 years. But yeah, I think that was maybe not for every company, but generally like the vibe, right? And people starting to spend money on this either with agencies or building their teams, but weren't all in yet, right? The design didn't have its metaphorical seat at the table. The budgets weren't there, but they were starting to invest in design, and probably a lot of responsibilities piled up on people at that time, and a lot of like who should do what kind of thing. And how does design fit within the construct of the way those companies had worked before, right? Like, was there a design department, or do they report to marketing, or do they report to product? Is there how mature was the product organization in these companies? Mm-hmm. These times probably also somewhat spectrum of immature to mature.
Yeah. So was that like pre-definition of specific lanes and roles of like the like PM, project manager, product owner, and so it's all kind of like you're saying it's like still early, like that was like still kind of like navigating itself, trying to figure all that out.
Yeah. Right? And I can't remember, but 10 years ago, I don't know what percentage of the industry used the term product designer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think some companies that really got it might have been using it. Some people just might have been using designer. Mm. But I think it was still in that in-between area where it wasn't as well known.
So now, current day, 2025, how is it? Are we still figuring things out? like from your perspective, or have we gone around in a complete 360? Because I feel like, the role of, a designer now, like with the ability to have access to so many like really easy to use tools, organizations that sort of like have things figured out. Like there are a lot of responsibilities, and also like the state of the market, like higher expectations for like, the same amount of like budgets and whatnot. But you have to distribute now all of those responsibilities back out to the world again.
I mean, I'm not active in designing anymore, but talking to clients, partners, and stuff like that, I generally feel like these days people more or less understand what it is. Although I was talking to a potential recruiting partner the other day, like talking about internships and apprenticeships. And I told them we did product design. They're like, oh, well, no, we're more focused on UX, UI. And I had to stop her and say, okay, well, what do you mean by product design? And she's, oh yeah, like industrial design. I'm like, okay, we do digital product design, so UX, UI. I think the industry still has a little definitions and words I still think are different culturally, across the globe. But more or less, I think people understand what this is. I think business stakeholders understand that these things do equate to measurable business outcomes. I think they understand, a lot of things that they didn't before, the bigger journey of it, like, from strategy to systems and everything between. I think most people have an idea of what it is. I think that every company has a different definition of what that means in their organization, though, or maybe slightly different opinions about what some of the vocabulary means.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it kind of kicked off that way. Another thing that I recognized in that episode, which is something that we talk about a lot, I feel like you and I, is like specialization versus generalism.
Yeah.
Early on in the discussion, y'all touch on, whether a designer should be a generalist or whether they should go into like more of a specialist track. And I think that the general consensus there was, to be effective at that time, generalism was the strongest like path at that time. And then working with like specialized partners or specialized folks or creators to do specific things at that time. Is that, again, we're in the modern day now. Like there's like any person can have access to any way to do something now. Like, can you be a specialist and a generalist like at the same time?
This one's a tough one because I think for me, it depends on a number of factors, like what country do you live in? What kind of business, are you working in a startup or an enterprise? What industry sector? Is it a new industry sector, or is it an agency? Like, I think those things make a difference. And then you have like all the other things that have changed, like, more people in the marketplace competing for jobs, more ubiquity, more understanding, more jobs, or sometimes like over the last 3 years, maybe shrinking economies and everything in between. So I think it's contextual. Like, I'll give you a couple of examples. Like, a year or two ago, like when we were working on the Funsize website, and you and I had to talk about like how we really wanted to like focus on 0 to 1 stuff, or maybe stuff that had hardware components. Well, we were talking about like the marketing of that, right? Like to try to attract the kinds of work you want to do, but then you land the work, right? In a highly specialized way, like connected devices, stuff like that. You could make the argument that it requires extreme specialization.
Sure.
Right. Or like if we were to work more with companies like Aura, for example, like does the specialization requirement not just design, but industry specific specialization? Like what, like work in the healthcare space or the automotive space. You can make an argument that matters.
Could you be a specialist in that market, but a generalist as a tradesperson?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that right now, competitively for roles, I think specialists are higher and higher demand right now because a lot of a certain percentage of the generalist work is easier to find because there's people in the market. It's a global market, so people are comfortable post-pandemic hiring in any country they want to control their costs. And also, software is different. Tools are different. Collaboration and tools like Figma didn't exist 10 years ago. And also AI tooling to do, automation on production didn't exist. So I think right now, in my opinion, specialists are more in high demand, but generalist specialists.
Generalist specialists.
Like either a specialist in a certain area or a specialist in multiple areas.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that feature. Yeah.
Yeah. Conflating the whole topic of needing to know a lot of different things. But I mean, I don't know, just following the line of thought, like if a company, has a limited budget or whatever, and they're going to want to hire, knowing that they can basically choose from anyone in the world that they want, they're going to be looking for people that are very strong in at least one area.
Yeah.
Where I think maybe 10 years ago, that would have been like top of optionality. But I think now it's maybe more. And I'm just predicting based on the way hiring managers might be looking at it. Today, they might, a few years ago, they might have been like, we're just like really awesome generalist or specialist product designer. But now they're probably looking at, okay, well, what else, right? What else are they expert in? And I guess it also depends on career level, So I don't know. That one's a really hard one for me because I think the way that I'm thinking about it is it depends on the context.
Yeah. Well, you've always said too that it comes in waves.
Yeah.
So it might be in the mid part of some type of trough or peak. I don't know.
Yeah. My personal opinion right now is it leans more towards specialization. Okay. Yeah. Like we need to make a product. Okay. Someone that is expert in that, or, if they're already doing a good job of making product, it might be, okay, we need someone that really knows how to do like R&D or visual design or branding. Like I think people are looking for those really specialized, hard to find skill sets that they're not able to get through AI or the global marketplace or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe not everyone, but that's the trend that I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
One last thing. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine.
But I don't know how many people are doing this, but and I think you brought this up too, but there's been a lot of movement over the recent years moving design into under product.
Okay.
Where product, those lines are being blurred, right? What's the difference between a design leader and a product leader? What's the difference between a product leader and design leader? Some of those departments are moving from being under a design org into a product org or vice versa. So
or even product having a vertical of its own.
Yeah. And I've heard, I won't mention company names, but I recently heard about a really large organization that was basically moving all design into product. And product people are being trained and are doing the design work.
Again, probably coming back to that evolution of what is possible today, and how the shape of what exactly the core of what being a designer means now, which is a really interesting parallel to me. Okay, cool. One more. I don't want to give everything away because we want people to go through and listen to it. And it's also on the point of hiring, because you all discussed. I think it was you that asked the question to Adam. If you were to hire somebody, again at that time, what are the things that you're looking for? Or what would be the most impactful things? And I feel I don't remember the verbatim quote that he had said. I should have noted it, but he was speaking about writing. And I didn't mention this before we started recording, but he said that writing is one of the most important skills a designer can have, because it's the manifestation of thoughts into articulation of an idea. And he's like, that is a core skill a designer should have. And I was like, and I was listening to that and I was like, I don't write very often. But the point is his core skills that he mentioned were people that are humble, they're diplomatic, they understand communication, they understand articulation, because he said like essentially like anybody can be trained to like create a thing. Is that still true?
I think so. I mean, I still think that most of design is relationship, communication, politicking. What's really behind the layers of onion of like what that person wants, like what are the motivator, like is their boss going to get mad at them if this happens, like really understanding people at a human level and working together to solve design problems, using multiple brains, but also understanding the whole context, instead of just designing in a void. I still think that that's, to me, like critical. I would agree that writing is pretty important too, especially like, I don't know, like even if you think about the things that I just mentioned, like global marketplace, AI, right? Like just to communicate with technology or people in different countries, you have to know how to write really well. And you have to not just creative writing, the technical writing, right? Like not using slang, not using contractions, spelling everything out, right? Like you work with someone in Japan and you write don't with a parenthesis, like DON apostrophe T. That could be the difference in them understanding what you're trying to communicate to them, or to like communicate a strategy or an idea, sell a stakeholder. Writing, storytelling, I think are really critical.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's different right now, related to the previous point, is I would say that those things are table stakes, right? Critical skills. But I think people, back to the Brian Peterson thing, people these days, they'll have a much higher bar for what quality is. So yes to all those things, but the quality better be there.
Yeah,
because there's not as much money, there's not as much iterative cycles, there's not as much flexibility to collaborate to get to the right place. You need to get there better, at a higher quality,
higher accuracy, faster. Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm saying like specialists, right? Because you have to have those communication skills and those fundamentals, but you also have the expertise to actually get it done in the right amount of time. Because a company isn't just going to spend as frivolously as they used to, because the money isn't, investment money and stuff like that just isn't as broad as it used to be.
Yeah. Yep. I found it to be very insightful, very interesting, and also like a time capsule to a certain degree. So I know you mentioned you're going to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it.
So yeah, well, I don't want to spoil it, but we encourage you all to go take a listen to it. We'll roll it right after we wrap up here. And you'll be able to kind of transport yourself back to 2015 to, have this conversation with Rick Messer, Anthony, and Adam Saint. So that's all we have for now. We're just going to, close out the year and come back in 2026 ready to rock.
Sounds awesome.
So sweet. Thank you.
Go ahead and get started if you guys are both ready and willing.
Yep, that sounds good.
Let's do it. Cool. So thank you very much for tuning in to the Funsize podcast called The Hustle. Appreciate you all joining us today. Today we're joined by Adam Saint from Bench, and you can go check out their site at bench.co. I'm with I'm Rick Messer. I'm a product designer at Funsize. I'm with Anthony.
Hi, I'm Anthony, experienced director and partner at Funsize.
Part-time janitor. Dog wrangler. Dog sitter.
Dog wrangler.
Yeah, we're with Adam Saint. Hey, Adam, how's it going, man?
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Adam, you are a product designer at Bench. Can you just give us a little bit of an overview of what Bench is and what it does? What makes it unique?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's unique about us is that we've taken a really, really traditional pain in doing business, which is bookkeeping, and we've smoothed it out completely and kind of taken it off of the plates of entrepreneurs by mixing some classical elements of service with software and design.
Yeah, Anthony was telling me that you guys kind of like basically you get a real human being, right? It's not just automated kind of software. Is that how it works?
That is Bench. I would consider us more an accounting firm than a SaaS company. Certainly, we take product design and technology very seriously, but we believe that's just one tool in the kit of rendering like really exceptional service for our customers.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Anthony raves about it. Why is it called Bench? What does that mean? I just thought of that just now because I think someone's going to ask me, and I don't actually know where'd the name come from. You know, do you have a good answer for me? Maybe I shouldn't have put you on the spot with that.
No, I mean, it depends how far down the rabbit hole you want to go.
I asked a bigger question than you thought.
We were originally, when we started out way back when, just kind of as a SaaS company, or that's what we thought we were called 10 Sheet. I had nothing to do with that name. That was my co-founder, Ian Soul, placed the blame squarely on him. But at a certain point, we realized we had to rebrand and really start getting serious about our identity. So we went through a whole bunch of different exercises and keyed in on a theme that we really liked that kind of came, I don't know what you want to say, like post-Web 2.0, where people stopped making up stupid words.
I'm so glad that's like over, dude. I'm so glad 2.0, Web 2.0 doesn't exist.
You didn't, no bencher or...
Bencher?
Exactly, yeah. We liked the theme of reappropriating common nouns that evoked a certain feeling or mood, and we really liked Bench, and it fit with actually our sort of financial background too. If you actually go back and look at the history of bookkeeping and banking and all that sort of stuff, it was first developed as an industry in Renaissance Italy, and it was literally served from the bench in open air markets. Yeah, so the Italian for bench is banca, or now bank.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I had no idea I was asking such an in-depth historical question. That is actually, man, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Don't get me wrong. We came up with Bench first, liked it, and then we tried to fix all the dissonance. Retrofit a bunch of cool historical stuff. Did research, and yeah, you know how it goes.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, definitely did not know that. That's pretty neat. I'm glad I asked that question randomly. Cool. Adam, we wanted to talk to you today about product design. Obviously, you know a thing or two about that. We do a bit of that ourselves, and we are just talking all the time about what are the responsibilities of being a product designer, because it's obviously more than just being, you know, I'm a UI designer, I'm an icon designer, I'm a illustrator, I'm a, you know, specified, you know, thing. Like a product designer is going to have a much broader role of responsibilities, and that list just continues to grow. So it's at a certain point, one has to ask themselves, where does this end? Like, when do you become, because certainly like one person can't just be in charge of every facet, you know, that comes along. So, in the future, what does a product designer look like? Because there's obviously been a bit of evolution on the product designer, like that even the term itself is sort of new, but I thought we would just talk a little bit about what does a product designer look like in the future, right? And where do we draw the line on what the responsibilities are, right? I mean, is it all necessary to, you know, be in charge of not only the design and the UX, but also then the code, and, you know, you're a front end developer, you're all these sorts of things. What do you think is like the line, right? Like when do you think, okay, this is a specialist job, a special person in charge of this or whatever?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I think like like you said, the term product designer is pretty recent, and it sort of became trendy to just wrap up all those activities in product design. And I think when you mention broadness, that's really the crucial point. Like if you look at the definition of what product is, it's really just the totality of all of the output, whether it's service or tangible items or whatever that come out of a company. And I think a product designer's responsibility and job is to be cognizant of all of those things and understand enough of them that he or she can direct the entire process. So often that does involve knowing how to animate or design UI or any of those things. But I think it's the role of a consummate generalist, someone who needs to understand enough to work with specialists like an icon designer or an animator or a graphic designer, and
I agree.
Understand where those tools and where that output fits into the overall system that the product designer is working on.
What's it like at Bench? How's your team sort of set up?
I mean, my team is very small right now. There's 2 of us. We're expanding soon, but I think just by default, because of our limited size, we completely embody this vision of the product designer as the consummate generalist.
I think that's an important, very important point to add is the size of the team, because it is more of, like you're saying, a generalist when you're on a smaller team, because you're quite frankly out of necessity, right?
I think it's also in some cases it's misunderstood. Like when I worked at Evernote, that team had a strong history of valuing engineering. The team that I was on had 2 designers and 20 or 30 engineers.
I've been in that boat too.
So it can be intentional, but sometimes it's sometimes some teams I think are structured that way because of ignorance. But I think sometimes it's intentional. I have something that I've been talking about lately that's directly related to this that I'd like to see if you guys agree with. I recently did a talk called Adapting to Change, and I was talking to a bunch of agency owners about what we need to be thinking about in the future to stay relevant. And the best way that I could sort of summarize the whole talk is like, if you imagine a skateboard ramp, right? And the left side of the ramp where it's like deep and broad is where we were when web was just coming out, because designers had to, the web was young and we had an interactive DVD-ROM. And so we were generalists. We knew a little bit about animation. We knew a little bit about copywriting and storytelling. We knew a little bit about audio. We knew just enough. We were just at that stage learning how to design user interfaces. And then, towards the middle of the ramp, as the web got so big, responsive web and mobile specifically, I think what has happened is for a while now, people have been very specialized. Like, I'm a mobile designer.
Yes, that's the part where it goes down on the half pipe and it gets more narrow, right?
And as, this product and service world is just starting. So my prediction is that to be relevant, to be hireable, to not fall off the face of the earth or change jobs, you have to be a generalist.
Yeah, and it's sort of like started out general, you're saying, then sort of narrowed, and now it's sort of opening up again to more of a general.
But I also think that people should be T-shaped, like broad in general, but deep one area,
deep in one area of expertise. Yeah, that's cool. Adam, I apologize, man. I think I cut you off there. What you were talking about your team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking more about what Anthony said now, actually.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's fine. I agree with Anthony's sentiment, and I think what product design maybe is, and it's not to say that it's necessarily above any of those specialties, but I feel like it's a natural evolution as someone moves from being immersed in the craft and understanding all of those things, and then they want to start to get deeper into the actual core of whatever business they're working with. And move into management, all that kind of stuff. I hesitate to say management, but really it is a form. I think product design is a form of direction. Like you're a director for a system of activities, and you need enough understanding, that T-shaped understanding of specifically design subspecialties, but also the entire business to really effectively direct the product. So I think on the path to being a product designer, it is vital for you to immerse yourself in all of those things like typography and graphic design and animation, and really understand all of those different aspects and love them. But eventually you start to become interested in more than that. Like, how do these, instead of just being a craftsperson, or a vendor of these sort of artifacts and outputs, you want to take control of more than that and slot all of these things into a larger system, I think.
As you become sort of spreading your focus onto all the different like parts, that you need to keep your eye on, like you mentioned, there's animation, there's the overall UX, there's the aesthetic that you're trying to achieve on a product, and I feel like there's even a lot more avenues than that. But can you still be like a designer? At that point, like. At what point do you spread yourself so thin that you're no longer even really able to be, I'm trying to ask like sort of a general question, because it seems like there's got to be some balance somewhere.
I think it depends how you define design and what a designer is. Like in my own experience now, even with our smallish team at Bench, I've done so few UI mockups and other sort of tangible outputs that you would consider the wheelhouse of a designer, and so much more management and planning and those sorts of activities. And I feel like I'm a more effective designer than I ever have been. Like if you go to the sort of root idea of design around planning and deciding like how a thing should be, whether that thing is, a power tool or a software system or something. I think that really is design. I don't think design is typography.
Right.
Typography is a thing, and it's a tool in the toolkit of a designer. But a designer really is just a systems thinker or a planner of some kind.
Man, systems thinker. That's kind of how my mind works, is like building a system. That's always how I want to approach everything. Like, I know Anthony's the same way. Like, yeah, Anthony is chasing a, what do you call it? It's like a white, it's a figurative, like white caribou or something. I think because he's always trying to set up the most perfect, like, system that everything could kind of work by. But the truth is that, like, as we're always dealing with a different user base and a different client. At least we are, since we work with clients. Yeah. That it's something that we always have to be recrafting. Yeah. And
that role and responsibility has changed drastically. It's very rare that someone gives you a brief that says, here is my detailed specification for this product that I need to make. Go design this and deliver it to me. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's where the systems planning comes in, because sure, whatever your specialty is, like the systems planning, the project management, the product management, the short-term, mid-term, and long-term thinking is the only way you're going to be able to get something out the door and understand how it's going to progress over time and become better. I really like the way Adam phrased that. I got into an argument accidentally on Twitter with Jay Finelli from Cotton Bureau because I had said... I wrote this tweet that said, "Man, designers need to be better project managers." And
I remember that. Yeah,
he wrote back. He's like, "When is this gonna end?" Right? and I understand the sentiment, because I think a lot of people hear, "Oh, well, now you have to know this. Now you have to know this."
Yeah, like all of a sudden, every Dribbble post that comes out, like not only is it just fantastic looking UI, there's also like an entire animation where it like flips around, does all this stuff. So then you also have to have these kick-ass animation skills as well, and it's like there's always all this stuff you have to be learning. So,
but I think there is a bit of an extent, because I don't think, my personal view is that you don't have to know all these things, but you have to be able to empathize with them. And if your team needs to, like, maybe the individual needs to be T-shaped, but so does the team. Mm-hmm. Like a product manager needs to understand and contribute to design. A designer needs to understand and contribute to project management or product management. It's not you just can't hand something over the fence and then blame someone for something else not being done. It's a true, in my opinion.
Oh, sure you can. That's how the agencies have been doing it for years.
Yeah, that's where I think it's important to just focus on that system and focus on what you're building the system for, understand what the desired outcome is, and then see where any of those particular tools fit into getting you closer to that goal. Like you know, you can sit on Dribble and get anxiety about not knowing how to animate well, but I think something that designers aren't even thinking about a lot of the time is, should I know about behavioral economics or cognitive psychology? You know, it doesn't produce any sort of like visual design output, but I think those are just as vital to understanding how to keyframe an animation. So it is really just understanding that system, what the desired outcome is, and then figuring out what kind of lattice work of skills you need to put together in order to make it work.
That's well put, man. I think so. Like it's like you're no longer just working with one Photoshop document, right? You take a step out of that, and then you're sort of designing the whole picture, like the whole like feeling, everything about that product.
Yeah. The entire thing. And then I think you often find, as a designer, if you start to elevate your thinking to that level, you find a lot more kinship with, business people and other folks too, where they're all trying to get to that same outcome and realize that truth. But they just have a different skill set, and you can actually bring this incredibly powerful skill set to bear, to try and reach that goal. That's another thing that I think designers focus so much on what they think are deliverables, but actually they're incredible tools for persuasion and influence as well. Like an interface shouldn't just be an endpoint that you deliver at the end of the day. An interface is actually this extraordinary tool for convincing other people of the right direction to go in, even internally, right? Like there's this meme that makes its way around Twitter every once in a while, that goes something like a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings or something, and it's kind of glib. It's just this like piece of paper taped up, but it's actually incredibly true. We have this unique ability to be planners, but we can also crystallize our vision more so than any other kind of business person, and use it to persuade and influence other people.
Is there a way that we can get these things, these interfaces, without any meetings? Can we just skip? Can you answer that, Adam? That's what I was hoping to achieve. Is no.
You can't, but you can drastically reduce the amount of meetings that are necessary. So if you're proactive in this product design role, and you go around to everyone that's involved, domain experts and stakeholders and all these other people, and you're really good at investigation, which is another design skill I think is crucial, and you pull out all the relevant information, you're going to be able to make such a more powerful argument with visual assets than any other person could, whether whiteboarding or doing whatever else, and then you'll sort of head off the need for 500 more meetings in order to crystallize that idea.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's skip 500 meetings this year, Anthony. That's the new goal.
All right.
Let's track it, man. Let's get some analytics on our meetings so we can determine, and then we'll have meetings to analyze the analysis of the meetings.
That's so true, though. I mean, if all of the meetings or workshops are just a bunch of talented people in a room talking about the subjectivity, I like this, do you like this, what do we like? That doesn't really get anywhere. Like, what is the goal? What are the business goals? What do we know about the users? What do we know what they want? Come with that research in hand, design.
Because it's
with intent.
Yeah, with intent, right? Because with knowledge in hand and having that intent. Because man, sometimes it just feels like this guy knows Photoshop and he knows what's hip. He's a designer. Let's give him this money, and he'll make our product. And it's like it feels like the whole the product design term is new and stuff, but I think it's, symptomatic of that older thinking where it's just like, it's just a designer, just let him, make us something that looks professional or whatever, but is actually missing quite a few marks. I think people are sort of like, that's not really a good way to do it anymore, and, enter the, I guess, product design as a profession, something that's been taken a lot more seriously.
One thing that was really inspirational to me, I was listening to the UX Discovery Session podcast, and they were interviewing one of our previous clients, Peter Merholz, who used to work at Adaptive Path, and his new role is a product manager. And he made this brilliant connection between, what a lot of the work that these product managers are doing was basically what a UX strategist, quote unquote, was doing at the agency, right? The strategic planning, the user research, that connecting all the dots. I thought that was a really interesting way to kind of describe that. It's a little weird for us, because we have project managers, but my goal, I think, at Funsize would be to grow our both our project management and product designers into assuring those kind of skill sets.
Let's just define that for people that are listening that don't really understand the difference between like a product manager and a project manager. Does somebody want to take that? Adam, Anthony?
I'm not the expert at all on this kind of thing, but the way I see it is just project managers understand process and structure for moving work forward, whether that's agile or some other system or whatever. Very important stuff, but it's kind of like the mechanical plumbing of a project. And I see product managers as almost more like film directors or something, where they have a vision maintained in their mind and they do everything that they need to do, even project management as a subset, in order to move everything toward that vision that they have.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's very well said, Adam. I feel like, a project manager is just sort of like, I view them as sort of like they focus on the milestones, and just making sure everything is actually, good, maintaining the schedule and that sort of thing. But then a product manager is digging down into figuring out what the requirements are for a product and, dialoguing with everybody, with designers, with stakeholders, investors, with people facilitating user testing and sort of making sure that steering the ship in terms of they're sort of owning it,
Yeah, and just maintaining that overriding vision no matter what, and understanding how to course correct when they feel like it's being
exactly
lost in some way.
Exactly. Can a designer be that? Can a product designer be a product manager?
I think so. At
the same time,
I think they're better suited than almost anybody else. It goes back to the interface as tool for persuasion and communication rather than deliverable. I think we're uniquely blessed with a mindset, like a systems thinking mindset, and the ability to materialize those mindsets for other people. And I honestly think that's the right set of tools to take over that position. It goes back, like, I think the classical thing that everyone learns if they go to design school is that we're communicators above anything else. So starting to think about interfaces as this abstract concept of just like a junction between two people, like whether it's a client and a really good idea, or a business model and a piece of software, like joining and connecting those concepts, I think is why we would make or do make really great product managers.
I think so. I think I agree. I just wonder if it can at any point completely replace the need for a product manager, because I feel like even though designers have the potential, and not every designer, by the way, I don't think just if you're a good designer, I don't know that I believe, and I could be persuaded, if I'm wrong about this, but I don't know that I believe that every person who is creatively talented in the visual arts is necessarily, it's not inborn in them to be a great product manager too, because sometimes they focus on the vertical that they're good at, and maybe it's
certainly not. I wouldn't suggest that that's the case. And there's really nothing wrong, just like an engineer who doesn't want to go into management and they just continue down the sort of senior path or whatever it is. Like the world absolutely needs really, really incredible icon artists and excellent animators and all these other people. And I think if you want to maintain that craftsperson route, you should, and it's incredibly valuable to do that. I think it is a subset of the more planning and architecture oriented people who find their way to design that should take up this role of product manager.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of like, as important as, like, that's important stuff, right? To a product. It's sort of like, this is somebody, a product designer that has these product management skills, is the person that is taking the vision and sometimes even pivoting on a vision to sort of bring this thing to life and everything. But however, I don't feel like everybody who's starting a new product at a new startup really gives as much weight to the product designer or designer at all as they do to, like, engineering or I don't know, somebody else on that.
I guess it depends on
level.
what you're talking about. I mean, the argument you can make, against that is I look at today's news. Facebook, acquiring the senior owners of TN Lax.
Yeah, did you hear about that, Adam?
Whoa, no, I did not.
Yeah. Isn't that not totally crazy?
Man, they're just taking everybody.
Yeah, I mean, all those acquisitions are acquisition for product design talent.
Yeah, I you're right,
but not everyone.
And think of like Dropbox is definitely like looking really strongly for designers and several bigger product companies. But I think on when things are getting started up, it's just there's not as much consideration as there are for engineering. That's my opinion, or at least my experience.
I think it's true for a couple of reasons. I think obviously there's a ton of poorly founded perceptions of the field of design from the startup world and engineering and business in general, looking at us. And then I think we do, as a profession, we do ourselves a disservice and marginalize ourselves when we, fight against processes and measurement and all these other things that are really important to businesses. It's not that we should accept them whole hog. It's that we should work with them and align design with the overall needs of businesses and show actually that in a lot of ways, product design is just another method, and actually an extremely effective method for businesses to realize their objectives. And once you position it that way, once everyone realizes that's the case, you find people getting really excited about it and wanting to explore it more. I think it's a little bit opaque for most folks.
Yeah, and I wonder too. I've kind of come to this thought too, when you're doing like in the startup environment, like I'm talking like a small startup environment, when something sort of catches fire and they've sort of proved, that they've got, some place in the market, the users want it basically. Is that a better time for a designer to, for a company to really invest in design? Like, we've proven that this is useful. Now let's refine the aesthetic nature and refine the user experience of this.
Yeah, oh man, it depends on the company, the domain you're working in, and how you see design. I think that's the wrong time. I think it's certainly, I wouldn't object to that approach because it will definitely work. A couple engineers come up with some cool prototype that's actually really effective and helps some people, and now we want to spruce things up, and that's fine. There's really nothing wrong with that. But if you take design seriously at the systems thinking level, you should have it on board right from the beginning. I think. Yeah,
and I agree. But I'm just sort of like putting it out there that I feel like that's the general tone of how many. Not everyone, and definitely not people that we work with either. They take it very seriously, and that's why they're investing and working with us and there's other agencies too. But I don't think that in general it is that highly considered. And like, what is a designer really worth? Because not monetarily, right? But just like considering them as like. You don't hear a lot of designers being founding members. There are certainly those products. But I don't know. I'm just kind of pushing against what y'all are saying about I mean, I am a designer. I obviously think that there's plenty of, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, right?
Well, it is interesting. I mean, what you just said made me think about our clients a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, our clients are great. I love them to death, but there is some truth, and maybe it's just because where we're based in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas has historically always had a lot of engineering founded companies. Yeah. There's lots of incubators and venture capital places. They offer great mentoring, technology services, even co-working space, but no one here has product design. Service, right? Yeah. So there is some truth to the fact that people have waited to come to us as a service provider until they did a grassroots build first, right? Mm-hmm. But I think if you look at the Bay Area, or even the East Coast, East and West Coast, I don't know. I think their cultures are much more mature in their values. I think
yes.
Product design.
Yeah,
I think this part of the country where we're at in Texas and Middle America is still
learning that lesson.
Still got the training wheels on.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, Rick. Definitely, I agree with you. The popular sentiment, I think, is to consider design a resource that you engage at a phase or in a phase, usually at the end. It's a state. You just kind of like, okay, now all the work is done.
Yes.
Now let's do the quick design phase.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah. Rather than considering it a methodology to start with.
Yeah.
At the core DNA of a business.
Yeah.
Just like you would, a revenue model or something like that.
Right.
And certainly, I think we're a little ways off from really getting to the point where we're considered a methodology that you should start with from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And then allowing that methodology that was sort of like birthed, with the product idea, and the users, and grow that methodology, that system that has been designed, grow that as the users grow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there has been,
and so often. Sorry, just one last point too. No like to your point about the cranking out that first, MVP or whatever you want to call it, realizing that actually you can do that a lot more effectively with design methodology than just a pure engineering mindset.
Absolutely, a prototype, right?
I think the view is often the design is like this fickle, as I said, after the fact thing that you paste onto it, rather than, this could actually be a really effective way to just even verify whether this business is going to work or not.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it's possible unless you look at the whole equation, like the whole team, like the strategic thinkers, the visionaries, the engineers, the designers. I mean, all working together. To me, that is product design.
But how hard is it to piece that team together? I mean, how hard is it to just piece like two engineers that work really well together? Like that's why these companies just get bought out, basically, because it's like so much easier to acqui-hire than it is to like go one by one down the engineers list and designers list. And that's probably maybe telling of why it is that way as well. Why it's sort of in many cases an afterthought after post MVP. It's really hard to find the right people to
Yeah, that's where I think it behooves us to really. How to be diplomats about the process and don't marginalize ourselves with typically fickle designer behavior. Mesh ourselves and be chameleons and act like business people and persuade people, show them that there are better ways to achieve these outcomes and let them realize the results themselves. Just slip things in. Don't say, I'm the designer and this is how it has to go. Produce an idea or convey something and direct a project and just let the results speak for themselves. And I think most smart people will come around once they see that outcome. They're like, oh, whoa, wait a second. This is really interesting. I want to explore this more.
That's a very mature way of putting it. A lot of designers, I don't think, can put their ego aside long enough to kind of consider that kind of approach.
It can be almost I was guilty of this in the past 2 years ago. Like, it's almost a point of pride separating yourself from the rest of them, being like, oh, I kind of like, I stand above all this, and all that like gross business stuff can happen, and then I'll come in with my stone tablets and tell everyone how it should be after the fact. Like, it's just not a productive mindset. So we should be diplomats and take that approach.
My gosh, I think designers today just need to go through therapy to kind of adopt that kind of mentality, because it is kind of like that. Like, no, listen to my idea. I'm the designer. I'm right. And at the same time, not exactly being sure that they're right. They just sort of demand respect, right? Like, we want.
Yeah. By fiat, by being designers.
Exactly.
Just like everyone else, we have to earn people's respect,
right,
and prove the value of what we're doing.
So, Adam,
it's not self-evident.
No.
I have a question for you. I mean, we don't have like a stone tablet with these values defined, but two of our core values here at Funsize is humility and empathy. If we're hiring someone, I personally look for those things over the design, the exact talent, for a lot of the reasons that, like, I think a lot of the things we talked about today fall in one of those categories, like empathy and understanding of different fields of psychology or other roles, and humility, knowing how to work in a team and accepting that, it's for this greater purpose, this user, this person, not a personal, this isn't my art project.
Yeah, and in reality, man, I mean, you gotta go on a journey as a product designer to come to those like decisions. It's not just that you're that good of a designer that you know all of the right answers. You have to go through sort of, you need to put yourself through that as well.
So, Adam, if you were going to hire someone today, what would you say you're looking for?
That's a good question.
Maybe talk a little bit about skill, but maybe some of these other values.
It's exactly those traits that you're talking about: humility, empathy, diplomacy, the ability to connect. We don't actually come up with anything on our own. Usually, we have an incredibly symbiotic relationship with other professions. We need their raw materials in order to do something really interesting and meaningful. So I think people who can communicate and connect are the most viable designers. Like, obviously, there's a standard, and you have to, like, a person needs to have some training in classical art principles and like visual perception and all that stuff, so that they can produce really good UI or whatever else. But more than that, I think someone's ability to investigate and have conversations and get to core anxieties and motivations. It's just so much more crucial in order to really do good design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's not to dismiss like all of those. The craft skills are vitally important, but it's almost like you kind of just, I don't know if this is going to sound bad or anything, but you want to assume that those things are there, and if they're not, you can kind of like, you can train them up to the area that they need to be if that person has the inclination to be visual in the first place. Mm-hmm. But it's very, very difficult to train someone to be empathic and connective and investigative.
Yeah, if those traits aren't already there, you're like changing a person if you're trying to bring that out in somebody that doesn't.
And in another way too, coherent and persuasive too. Like, 'cause other people have mentioned this actually. I think like Ryan Singer at 37 Signals, I believe, or maybe it was Freed, I don't know, talking about writing as like the core design ability. And I know a lot of like hardcore UI designers would balk at that and be like, well, fuck that. But it's so true. Like, really, really good writing, cohesive writing, is just this manifestation of a person who can think through systems and domains really effectively and communicate those things and translate them to other folks. And I think that's I think that's like the first stepping stone to being able to make really good interfaces and interactions, that you'll be able to connect people to software systems and databases, or businesses to other businesses, or like whatever you're trying to connect ultimately.
Wow.
I feel better after having heard you say that, Adam. You know, honestly, it's something I think about all the time. Like, you know, how does this, I don't know. It feels like validating to think of it that way in a way. But I think we are at, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's not important. I was just going to say designer as connective tissue, I think, is an important way to look at it.
I'll buy that, man. I'll buy that. Well, we're out of time for today. Unfortunately, we'll have to kind of cut it off at this point. But that was pretty awesome, Adam, to hear you kind of talk about it. It gives me definitely some things to think about with product design, and as we go forward, working with our clients, being humble, continuing to keep that attitude. And yeah, that's some good stuff, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, Adam, how do our listeners find out more about Bench and you personally? Where would they connect with you?
Yeah, please make your way over to bench.co to find out more about Bench. We've got a blog going with all kinds of really cool resources for business people. You can find more about me on Twitter, I guess, if you're interested, at Adam J. Saint. I don't have a site up right now. It's tremendously embarrassing, but it's kind of, it just gets that way once you're involved with one startup for a long enough time.
Yeah.
You end up taking it down, and
100 times.
One of my resolutions for 2015 is actually to get up a beautiful new, not necessarily portfolio site, but just a point of entry to like contacting me and reading some of my thoughts and that sort of thing.
That's good, man. Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
Yeah.
My site is just like a little avatar with like 5 buttons. It's like,
have you ever noticed that actually most designers, especially like really great ones, either just are a little bit cheeky with their personal site design, or they just don't have one.
Yeah, or then there's the rare people that have like the most incredible design you've ever seen, and then all the rest of the designers are like, man, I'm just going to do a white page with a link to my dribble or something.
What's that saying? The cobbler's son.
Cobbler's children go without shoes.
Yeah, something like
it's
that. Yeah.
Definitely, that's, you're designing for, if you're a talented designer, right, you're designing for a lot of other people. You're not spending a ton of time designing for yourself. I don't know.
I think it holds true through a lot of different trades, actually. Like I've noticed, hairstylists sort of thing. We usually have like nice but super minimal haircuts.
Whatever's just easiest to maintain.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, man. And you said your Twitter handle, right? Your Twitter handle?
Oh, I'm
just Adam.
His Twitter handle?
Everybody's, sure, everybody.
It's at Adam J. Saint.
Nice. And then Anthony's at Mantuan.
Yep.
And I'm at Rick Messer. And you guys can, subscribe on iTunes if you like the podcast. We'd like to hear more of it. We got some pretty interesting episodes coming up. And we thank you very much, Adam, for taking the time out today to discuss with us these things, man. It was great hearing from you today.
Oh, no. Thank you, guys. This was really lovely. I love talking about this stuff, and I appreciate you giving me the time.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Till next time. Thanks very much.
Funsize.com